Hi, everyone. This is Lauren Fogelman, and I'm joined with Steve. You want to check in, Steve?
Yes. Hi, everybody. So glad to have you here. And we are so excited to bring this presentation to you.
The topic today is win new clients without being salesy, master the enrollment conversation. And there we go. There are my slides. Okay. So basically what I have found is that up to 75% of students who graduate from school, particularly the School of Business from college, they end up actually in sales positions. Somehow they have to be able to bring in new clients, be able to enroll people. The thing that I found, and we found it out because our son Jared actually just went through the School of Business in our local university. He graduated with a degree in marketing for the wine industry. What we found out was that they have entire departments devoted to marketing. And I told him if they have even one class in sales, please go ahead and take that. It's going to really make a difference, because if you can do sales, you can get a job in anything. It's like everything is open to you at that point. Well, during the 4 years that he was in school, not one class in sales whatsoever. I believe that it's doing a disservice to students that are leaving college looking for jobs, as well as those businesses that are bringing on new hires, that they have to then learn sales on your dime while working for you, instead of really coming out with those basic fundamentals. Therefore, it's a big reason why I teach this, is because we've seen it firsthand with our son. I've had experience with that too. It's time to be able to really change the way that we look at enrolling conversations as something that we want to really step into, we look forward to having, as opposed to something that feels painful, like we're being punished trying to do it because it's really uncomfortable for us.
Right. And if I can interject, I had a discussion this morning, just this morning, with somebody who said that his first job out of college was selling cars, but he got absolutely no training in how to do the sales thing. And so he lasted about a month.
That's amazing. And I've seen that over and over again with so many people. They end up doing sales because that's the way to get started. And they just can't cut it because they don't know how to do it without really following those traditional sales tactics, which make it just feel like you need to take a shower afterwards.
Right, like this guy. Absolutely.
You're so right. So basically, if you are someone who does consultations, you absolutely don't like the sales part. You don't want to be seen as pushy, salesy. It's uncomfortable for you for a variety of different reasons. Then as soon as somebody gives you a little bit of pushback, or those objections start to come up, you just crumble, you cave in, and you end the conversation. Then you are absolutely in the right place. My slides are kind of funky. Steve, why don't you go ahead and introduce a little bit about yourself before I dig in about me?
Okay, sure. So Steve Fogelman, I'm a therapist turned business coach, and I also do relationship coaching in terms of our business. And I do the monthly leadership call, which is to our mastermind group, where I take a different topic and I basically present a topic for 20 minutes and then take questions and answers. So you have an opportunity to pretty much kind of ask me whatever you want to, and get some really interesting information. And I'm going to be monitoring the chat today, and also asking Lauren some questions about what we're presenting today.
A little bit about me is I am, like Steve, a sports psychologist, therapist turned business coach. What I have found is my schooling gave me all the tools that I need to really do the work for my clients of helping them get out of their own way to be able to achieve their full potential. Right now, my focus is on working with entrepreneurs who have some type of service where they charge by the hour, the session, or the project, be able to double their income working half the time. A big part of that has to do with the pricing. How do you price your services for value and break free of the dollars per hour paradigm? The other part is how to do those enrollment conversations in a way to be able to focus on your expertise and the value that you bring, as opposed to trying to pitch someone. Last year, I was voted as one of the top 22 business coaches globally by HubSpot. That was a really big honor for me. And at this point, I am really devoted to helping entrepreneurs be able to have a business that supports their lifestyle, because you take so many risks as a business owner, and too many business owners end up with a business that sucks the life out of them. I want to be able to change that.
Yeah.
What we're going to dig into today is winning new clients without being salesy, those 3 secrets to get an immediate yes, and 5 steps to handle objections with ease. We will absolutely give you all we can in the short time that we have together today. If you're interested in learning how to get more or have a further conversation, we will let you know how to do that at the end as well.
So let's get started. I'm really excited about this. So the first part is how to win new clients without being salesy. And I know that there are 2 things that influence the sales conversation, because you and I have talked about it, but it would be great if you shared that with our folks today.
Sure. Part of what I've seen is, just like we're not all wired the same as far as personality or how we learn, it's true for how you actually bring people into your business also. We have different sales styles. I've been able to find that there's really 2 dominant ones. There's the hunter, which is the person that absolutely loves the chase. They love going for the kill. They love closing the sale, enrolling new clients, seeing the numbers add up in their bank account. The great thing about them is they're excellent closers. They know how to get that job done. However, as soon as they've enrolled someone, they're a little bit bored with that person, and then they're going on to the next person that they can bring into the business, the next person they can close. That is more of the exceptional few. Most of us are not hunters. The majority of us are the nurturers. The nurturers are the entrepreneurs who absolutely love connecting with their clients during these consultations. We love hearing about their problems, letting them know how we might be able to solve it. We have a little bit more of a longer sales cycle because we're great at developing rapport. But when we do bring someone on, we tend to have very loyal clients that will stay with us for a long time. With your business, you really need to have both. You need to be a little bit of the hunter. You need to be able to ask for the sale, to be able to talk about the investment and the money, to be able to get people to pay you. And you need to be that nurturer also, where people feel that they're connected with you, they trust you, and that you're going to be able to follow through on being able to help them solve their problems. If you find that you absolutely are stronger in one than the other, it's affecting your business, then the way to solve that is to bring someone on to do the part that you're not comfortable with. If you're more the nurturer and you absolutely don't want to close people whatsoever, get someone to team up with that loves doing or is very comfortable doing that part. And that way you both can go through the sales process together as a team, as opposed to it being just you having to do all the parts that you love, as well as the parts that feel like punishment.
I love that.
The other part is that you want to know where someone is when they're looking at your service. There's actually 3 stages of readiness. If you are not talking to them at the right stage, it's like talking to a teenager that you're trying to have a conversation with, and they are just tuning you out. They're scrolling on their phone instead. They're going, la, 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 la. They are not paying attention. They're not engaged at all. Therefore, if you're going to be able to be willing to set your time aside with somebody to be able to discuss their problem and how you might be able to fix it for them or solve it, you want to make sure that you're talking with them in that right stage. Otherwise, they're not going to really be able to connect with what you're saying, and it's taking time away from something else you could be doing to advance your business. Here are the 3 stages. The first one is awareness. The people that are in the awareness stage are wondering, do I even have a problem? They might just have recognized that they have this issue and they want to be able to figure out, does it really apply to them or not? Do they have to do something about it right now, or can they postpone it? Which is usually what most people want to do, is put it off for as long as possible. Awareness is the very first stage. The second one is research. They've recognized and acknowledged that they have this issue. Now they're like, okay, what are all my options? Can I do it myself? Because they tend to be DIYs with everything. Can I just get some guidance and learn from somebody, and then maybe go ahead and follow their steps to be able to get that solution? Or is it that I really can't do this on my own? I see the need for it, but I need your help. So that's the action stage, where they are ready to do something and get it done. They don't want to deal with this problem, or they know what they want. They can't achieve it on their own. They need some help. Once again, the 3 stages are awareness. That's the very first stage. Second stage is research. They're Googling, they're talking to their associates or their friends. They're getting information at this point. If they find you in the research stage, you want to have information available that gives them more insights into how you solve this problem. That's great with doing Facebook Lives, doing webinars like we're doing today, speaking in front of an audience, blog posts, posts on social media that talk about that topic and how you might be able to approach it. Those are great things you could be doing if someone's just finding out about you during the research stage before they're ready to take that next step. And then the last stage is the action stage. That's really where you want to be having those consultations with people, is the ones who are ready to really take that next step and they're ready to resolve this problem. So those are the 3 different stages of readiness.
And next we're going to look at the solving a need, and we have the challenges, solutions, and the value. And I know, just looking at the chat, that there are some people that are having some issues about the whole sales thing, and it doesn't sound like many people are really comfortable with sales. So I'm wondering if there's a better conversation than just a sales conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I don't think that any of us ought to be pitching someone, because first of all, we don't like pitching. It makes us feel like that used car salesman. And when do you like being pitched to? Actually, the only time I know anybody that loved being pitched to was someone that was in sales, and seeing if that person's pitch made them want to buy, because they understood the whole process. But aside from that, most of us don't really like pitching, and we don't like being pitched to if we're on the other side of it. What I really teach my clients to do is to have what I call a value conversation. A value conversation really starts to put the client first, the person that you're meeting with, identifying what are their challenges that they're struggling with. I'm going to go really deeply into this in a little bit, so hang tight with me. But you want to be able to really figure out what their challenges are that they're having, and you want to find out different types of challenges that might be going on with them. As you're listening to their answers, you're then figuring out, do I have what it takes to be able to solve that person's challenge? Does your service go ahead and fix that problem for them? Or does it help them achieve something that they can't achieve on their own? I will say, between fixing a problem and achieving something, 75% of the people you talk to will want to have a problem fixed, because most of us are motivated by negativity, as opposed to wanting to be able to better ourselves some way and rise up and have some growth or improvement in some area. So once again, 75% of your clients are most likely going to be driven to do something because they want to get rid of a problem, as opposed to wanting to achieve something that they simply can't achieve on their own. When you put the challenges and the solutions together, that's where they see the value of what you have to offer. It's a really different approach than what most other people in your industry are doing. It starts to separate you and really give you that expert positioning. And that's why I call it a value conversation.
And I know that the next thing that we have up on the slide is about the 5-step blueprint. And it's really great, Lauren, because you're going to be talking about what are the steps that someone takes to get somebody from being interested to really getting them motivated to enroll in your program or working with you. And I think that's really exciting.
I think you've really brought up a great point that I want to actually emphasize. With this 5-step blueprint, you can do it on your own and it will work for you. Or you can go into some type of program and follow these steps. That will work. And with my clients, it's something that we really roll our sleeves up on and dig our hands in and get this done along with you. With the 5-step blueprint, this can take someone from just finding out about you, who's in that action stage, to actually be enrolling into your service very, very quickly within 24 hours or less. Or it could be a longer process depending on what your sales cycle is and how quickly you like to enroll clients. I tend to want to find ways to be able to do this as effectively and efficiently as possible. How do I shorten the sales cycle and get them from interested to committed? This 5-step blueprint I've seen work for me in as little as 72 hours with really high ticket sales conversations. With that being said, let me dig into it for you and unpack it a little bit. The very first thing you want to do is position your service as the ideal solution. What that means is you want to have information out there as people are shifting from that research phase into the action phase that lets them know that you might be the one to be able to help them solve that problem. As they're becoming aware of how you might be able to solve their problem, they're absorbing some information that you might have there. They're looking at what's different about you versus everybody else who might be able to solve that problem too. Once they reach out to you, you also want to have some more pre-qualifiers before they get on your calendar. Part of what I do when someone's reaching out to me is before they reach out to me and they get on my calendar, they're actually answering a set of questions that let me know a little bit more about what their biggest challenge is. I can tell from some of those answers where they are in the sales cycle, whether they're really ready to take action or not. And I can find out what some of the challenges are to figure out whether this might actually be someone who's a fit. I want to be able to give them that time to have that next conversation. If they're not a fit, I might just go ahead and give them a suggestion or maybe point them in the direction with some content that I have available on my blog or like this webinar that will give them some more information that they can go ahead and get some answers and move forward on their own. I want you to be able to figure that out also. How can you put these boundaries in place to be able to protect your time too? That way you're not talking with the people that just want to pick your brain or the people that just want the free stuff and they're never ever going to invest in you. Be really protective of your time, and position yourself starts to do that. Once they've gone through the process of pre-qualifying, you know that they're a good fit, they're ready to take that next action, they're in that conversation with you, you want to start to ask them really powerful questions that start to help you understand exactly what's going on with them. It's similar to if you have chronic back pain, you go to a doctor that specializes in back pain, you're in the examination room, and the very first thing he goes, okay, we're scheduling surgery. You're like, what the heck is going on here? I just am meeting you and you're telling me that we're scheduling surgery? I'm not going to do that. But fortunately, that doesn't happen most of the time because that would be malpractice. So many of us are committing that type of malpractice in our businesses where we're meeting someone and we're just telling them what needs to be done without really digging into their unique situation and finding out what's going on with them. Because what might happen is, let's go back to the back pain. If you're talking with someone, they have this chronic back pain and they're talking to a doctor, well, it might be that they could be doing physical therapy or going to a chiropractor. There might be some body work. It might be that they're overweight by 150 pounds or so. And if they actually worked with someone that could help them get control of their weight and take off some of that weight, that their back pain might actually go away. They won't need the surgery any longer. It could be that there's certain types of movements that they're doing that are really exacerbating what's going on because they're not aligned, and some of those corrective things might help. Or maybe they're just stressed out and they keep all that stress in their back. They need to learn how to be able to reduce their stress in order to be able to release some of that tightness that's going on, contributing to their back pain. Because of that, it shows that there's many different ways that you can approach working with someone or being able to help them resolve something. Asking those questions helps you to figure out what that ideal solution could be. The third part is, once you've gone through asking those great questions, then you want to be able to give them the solution. That's why they're coming to you. This is what happens with most service providers, and you can fix this very, very quickly. Usually when someone's coming to you and you're ready to talk about the solution, when you're charging by the hour, it's just, let's get started. This is what we can be, but it's very, very open-ended. They don't see how there's like maybe a beginning, a middle, and an end. It just seems like it might go on forever. They can't really budget for that. Then when you're proposing only one solution, then their next step is, do I work with you or do I say no and move on and keep on looking for that solution? The point here is that when you only give them one option of how to work with you, it's either a yes and no decision. Either they jump in or they move on and keep looking. What I want you to consider, and what I really teach, is about having 3 different ways of working with you. You want to give them 3 different options of how you might be able to help them. Think about having maybe basic option, which is for the most price sensitive. It will get the job done, but it's not going to have a lot. This might be for the people who see the value of what you do and they're do-it-yourselfers. They don't need you to handhold them. They just need some guidance or mentoring from you. So have a really basic option. The second option you want to have is what might be like a gold package. The first one will be a silver, the second one will be a gold package. This is what the majority of your clients need to be able to get results. You put most of that into your gold package, and then you can offer that. Most of the people that you work with will actually end up in that gold package. Now, every now and then, you're going to have someone who loves to always go for the highest thing available. They like the high-end things. They want a lot of your time. They might be more needy or have some complications that need more expertise than your other clients. That has value. What you want to do is create a diamond package for those VIP clients who want more of your time. And they're going to be reaching out. They're going to be checking in more often than your gold package or your silver package would be. Therefore, when someone's coming to you, give them 3 options. What happens now is their choice has changed. Instead of them thinking about, yes, I do work with you, or no, I don't, and I move on, now they're looking at these 3 packages and saying, oh, which one do I want? How do I want to work with you? It just changes everything. After that, we go on to the perfect start. The perfect start is, okay, they've chosen the package that they want. They're ready to get started. What you want to do here is you want to have a conversation about what it means to get started. That's where you talk about the money piece. I believe that you ought to collect money before you start doing the work, because otherwise you might have some people that never pay you want to negotiate your rates later on. This way they're all engaged. Therefore, you have to be comfortable having the money conversation and asking for money. The other thing is, this is where you get to really set your boundaries. Talk about what they can expect from you as far as what you're going to do to be able to help them fulfill your promise and solve that problem. The other thing is, you want to let them know what you expect from them. What kind of follow through? What do you expect them to be doing in between possibly? what are the expectations as far as getting in touch with you? Are you available 24/7, or do you have certain set boundaries as to how people can reach out to you? The other part you want to be able to recognize is how good are they as being responsive? Do they follow through, or do they end up just not responding whatsoever and they're ghosting you? You want to be able to look at that. Plus with that, I suggest that you actually have a contract. This then spells out the investment piece, what they can expect from you, and what you can expect from them. It gets it all clean, puts it on the table. That way there's no later on misunderstandings or miscommunications of, you never told me that. They signed it, you signed it, and it's just about the fact that this is a business, not a hobby. So treat it like a business and really take care of yourself and your business, as well as communicating well to your clients. And then the last thing is post-consult. Now that they've enrolled with you, they are really ready to get started. What you want to do is give them something that gets them started immediately. You might want to give them some type of assignment, possibly some type of homework to do, some type of questionnaire to be able to answer, a self-assessment. Maybe they need to gather some things together. They are possibly booking that next appointment with you. However, you want to really get them engaged as soon as possible. The reason is because they just made this really significant decision to work with you. Mm-hmm. You don't want them having now second guessing themselves, where they're having some doubts come up. They're overthinking it, and they actually talk themselves out of it to where they decide maybe to not follow through. They need that reinsurance, and the best way to give them that reinsurance is to give them something to do to get started right away.
So I love this slide with the 70-30, and when we've talked about this before, Lauren is actually going to explain what that really means. And in your blueprint, I was really looking at the thing about the powerful questions that diagnose, and I was just wondering, what kind of questions are those that you're asking to your clients that actually help you diagnose what's happening with them and where they should be?
That I'm going to jump into in just one moment. Let me explain the 70-30 first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a 70-30 rule when you're having value conversations, those consultations with people interested in working with you. What you want to be doing is having them talk 70% of the time that you're meeting with them. You're only talking 30%. Right now, you might actually be doing 70% of the conversation, and they're only engaging maybe 30%. We want to go ahead and flip that to them doing 70% of the conversation. You're only doing 30%. You might be wondering, how do I do that? I can't possibly imagine how I can only be talking 30% of the time and actually have it work. And the next thing is, okay, let's talk about what those questions are. I really want you to focus on asking powerful, great questions where people are seeing the value of what you have to offer. That's what Steve was alluding to just a moment ago. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put in the chat, and we'll go through them in a moment as soon as I go through this part. But with the discovery questions, there's 3 different categories. There's quantitative, qualifying, and qualitative. The quantitative is all about how much. It goes into time as well as money, because those are the 2 commodities that people have in life. You want to be asking, how much time is this taking you trying to figure it out on your own? How much time are you wasting because it's broken and not really fixed? How much is it costing you by not having the solution in place? How much do you gain to make if we were able to get this done? That's some of the quantitative questions where you're really digging into the cost as well as how much they could be making or what could change in regards to time and money. With the qualifying questions, these are more of the emotional aspects. The reason that you might be having a conversation that touches on the emotions, whether you're doing a softer service like health and wellness or a business-to-business service, is because from studying sales psychology, people make that decision to invest and work with you based upon emotions, where they feel that they have a connection, they trust you, you really get them, and that you are listening to them. It's an emotional decision that's then justified with logic.
I love that.
Types,
That's great.
Absolutely, and it's something that we tend to miss, because talk about emotions is uncomfortable for so many of us. The qualifying questions you want to think about asking have to do with, tell me about the frustration you've been having because you're still dealing with this problem. Let's talk about how difficult it's been knowing what to focus on when you have so many different ways to go, and what would change if you knew what to focus on and what to eliminate. Tell me about how this is keeping you stuck because you really don't know which is the best option. And maybe where you've been overthinking that, and how is that impacting everything for you? Those are some of the qualifying questions that you want to be asking that help them get connected with the pain of continuing to tolerate this problem, really not knowing what to do, or they're overthinking it. They're staying in the research phase because that's where they're comfortable, and really committing to that is something that feels very, very uncomfortable, maybe even a little bit scary for them. But if you show them that you can handhold them through this process, or you can take them through this process in a way that's going to help them get the results that they want, that's really going to help them make that decision of, wow, I can see really where we could do this together, and the potential of not having to tolerate this any longer. The last one is qualitative. Qualitative is interesting because it recognizes the fact that what you do professionally and your personal life are not two separate compartments. They actually have ebb and flow. They coexist. When things are off in your personal life or spiritually, it affects how you show up professionally. And when something's not working well, or there's a challenge professionally, it crosses over and comes home with you into your personal life. I know so many entrepreneurs who were busy growing their business. They were doing so much that when it came time to have dinner, they were quickly going through dinner with the family, rushing because they wanted to get back to work. Or they'd be putting their kids in the bath, letting the kids go in the, do stuff in the bathtub, playing around for a while, and they'd be texting and responding to answers on their phone, or they'd be answering emails. I don't want that to happen to you. That's part of what I experienced when Steve and I had our counseling agency, is that I would be working evenings, seeing clients. I would be doing paperwork for compliance issues and health insurance billing on the weekends. Because of that, I miss ball games, I miss dinner times, I miss things on weekends because I was working in my business, and instead of having that boundary and that separation of really spending quality family time together. I know what happens, I know the cost, I don't want that for you. And your clients don't want that for themselves either. That's why you want to ask them these questions about, okay, because you have this business related problem, how does it affect you once you're, done for the day? What happens then? Maybe you're not as engaged with your spouse. Maybe you've given up working out because you're starting your work day earlier and earlier. So start to ask them that. And if it's coming from a health and wellness aspect, then ask them, okay, because you're not really feeling like you have as much energy, how does it affect how you show up as work? How are you feeling sluggish maybe after you've had chicken for lunch and it's starting to hit you about 90 minutes in because you're digesting it? And really starting to ask them some of those deeper questions that show that it's not just about how your home life or your business life, that it really crosses the boundaries and one can interact with the other. Steve, were there some questions coming up that people wanted answers to right now?
There were actually a couple, but I think that we ought to hold them for maybe towards the end of our conversation, because one of them was kind of pretty lengthy. But yeah, I've just been kind of monitoring the chat. There haven't been a lot of questions coming in, but I've been posting a lot of things. So if you have any comments, please feel free to just go ahead and put them in there.
Perfect, thank you. With that being said, I just went through the enrolling conversation. I know that you see the value of this, that you don't want to have a pitch or be pushing someone into working with you. Because of that, I went ahead and put together a values conversation script. It gives you all the different questions. You can be going through the whole thing, and it really is a guided value conversation that you can put into play where you just maybe tweak it a little bit for your specific business. However, it is done for you. What I'm going to be doing is when I send out the link with the recording from today, it will have access to where you can go ahead and download this script as well.
That's great. I know that we were talking about boundaries, and I think this next slide coming up with Ingrid, I think is a real great representation of that. So why don't you talk about Ingrid, because she's a real hoot.
Absolutely. Ingrid, when I first met her, just went from having a home-based business into a brick and mortar. What happened for her, like so many entrepreneurs, is she was generalist. She was doing bookkeeping services for a wide variety of clients. Some of them had businesses, others were doing personal bookkeeping. She was doing personal bookkeeping for. She was doing a wide variety of different businesses. Some were merchants, some were restaurants, some were service-based, construction, the whole gamut. What we decided to do is to actually identify her particular niche. She ended up choosing entrepreneurs that did adventure tourism for people wanting to travel. Partly she chose it because she really enjoys traveling as well. But that became her niche, was really specializing with business owners that do adventure tourism travel companies. With that, we started to carve out and create the system for how people engage with her. When they first find out about her, she has them answer a series of questions that are on her website. Once they answer the questions, she then, it looks like they're a good fit, she will go ahead and give them a link to schedule time to speak with her for a quick consult. When she's going through that quick consult, she's not doing coaching. She's actually having a value conversation to figure out if they're a good fit or not. If it looks like in this quick consult that she does that it is a good fit, then she is actually offering them to go into a deeper diagnostic assessment with them so that she can really figure out what's going on with their business and with their books. When she does this assessment, they're paying for that assessment with her. She's not giving it away for free. And the interesting thing is that a lot of bookkeepers do give away the assessment for free. Ingrid used to as well. And now we priced it on value. Now she's getting between $500 to $1,500 for simply doing an assessment on where their books are, as well as giving recommendation as to what would solve those problems, as well as what would be the next steps. It's a standalone product where either they can take her recommendations, they can do it on their own, they could give it to their own bookkeeper, or they can continue working with Ingrid to be able to implement those recommendations. Think about what that would look like in your business if you had something like that in place too. But because of this work that we did together, Ingrid was actually able to double her business and be able to let go of 30% of her clients. We just spoke a couple weeks ago. She's actually letting go of some more clients, and she's increased her fees once again. So it's not like you do it once and it's done. It's a continual process that as you gain more expertise in your particular niche, you're able to continue to refine how you work with clients and what your rates are.
And I know that the next thing that we're going to look at is something that's really exciting to me. We talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but it's about the 3 secrets to get an immediate yes. And I understand that it takes entrepreneurs a really long time to turn an interested prospect into a new client. And what's your secret for entrepreneurs to get an immediate yes during their consults?
Well, the very first one is, I don't want you chasing anybody. People don't like being chased. That's the first thing. When you're chasing someone down to be able to work with you, it gives a little bit of a sign of desperation. It comes more from a scarcity mindset then there's more than enough. I understand in your business, there might be times that you need money, or that you have an opening for a new client, you want to be able to fill it. However, going into chasing mode doesn't position you as an expert, and it's not actually very, very client attractive. What I want you to look at, the very first thing, is that people, when they're talking with you and you're having that value conversation, there's three different things that they're coming to the table with. One is their needs. Your questions that you're going to ask them are going to help figure out what are those needs. These are really the basics or the essentials that have to be in place for them to be able to achieve or fix what it is that is getting in the way right now. The second one is their wants. Their wants are really about things that they know are important. However, they can't figure out how to get that themselves. So starting to look at the wants places you as that solution to their problem. And then the third piece is their desires. That's like the sweet spot. This is their desires are something that they see is possible in the future. However, they don't believe that they can have it right now. They need to have other things in place, like fixing the needs, being able to get those wants in place to be able to then be positioned to have that desire, that thing that they really, really want more than anything. It would be like their sign of success and having arrived. Mm-hmm. Therefore, start focusing on those when you're having value conversations and you really start to ask those powerful questions. The next thing that happens when you are focusing on their needs, their wants, and their desires because you've asked these powerful questions, if this person is an ideal fit, they will actually naturally ask you, how does it work? How do we get started? It is a beautiful thing when someone then that you're speaking to opens up that part of the conversation instead of you starting to sell them. Mm-hmm. What happens is now they're pursuing you instead of you chasing them. The reason that you don't want to chase them is because they will feel backed into a corner. They will feel a lot of tension about that, a lot of stress, because you're putting this stress to make a decision on them, and they're feeling backed into a corner like they're trapped. There's only two ways that they can respond when they're feeling like they're trapped like that. Either they can just submit and just give in, surrender, because they want to release that stress that they're feeling, or they can resist and push back and fight and make you wrong somehow, which is not what you want to have happen when you're in an enrolling conversation with someone. Therefore, when they're asking how to work with you, it's about them really seeing the value. They're opening up the conversation, and you have a decision you can make at this point. You can either realize that they're not really a good fit. There were some red flags. You felt something in your gut that made you aware that you might not want to work with them. And that's okay. Pay attention to that gut feeling. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, you want to maybe give them something to do. You want to point them in the right direction, but somehow you want to bless them and let them move on. You don't want to work with everybody, just like you don't want to be married to everybody. Not everybody's going to be an ideal partner for you. But if you feel that they are an ideal fit for you, that you want to work with them, then you can go ahead and let them know what those three options are that you're offering. That way, it's not like you can only work with me one way and it's either a yes or no. It's more of, once again, how do I want to work with you? So go ahead and you get to cherry pick your clients. If they're not a good fit, bless them, move on. If they are a good fit, tell them about the three different options and help them make a decision that of what would be the best way to work with you. The next part of how to get that immediate yes is you want to come from this from the position of being a trusted advisor. What that means is that you want to help them make a decision that is in their best interest, not one that's in your best interest. You want to help them get to a yes or no of what do they want to agree to, what's best for them, Do they want to work with you, or maybe now isn't the time yet? And being able to do what's in their best interest versus what's your best interest is something that I actually learned. It was a tough lesson. I'll just go there. Well, when I was first starting to do business coaching in 2009, I was meeting with someone who had a service-based business. The challenges that this person was experiencing regarding how to grow their business, how to be able to niche, be able to start to separate themselves from others doing similar things, and how to automate more so that they weren't working in their business all the time. They were becoming more the CEO. Well, what happened is that, yes, I could help them. I saw that this person was a great client. Like I said, it was early in my business. I needed the money to be able to pay some bills. I had room for a new client and was hoping to sign this person on. When we got to the part of me talking about the money piece and what it would be like to work with me, I didn't like the sales part either. And I could feel my energy very slowly start to shift from where I had spent all this time building up rapport and connection. And suddenly the focus was shifting from it being about them to now I was focusing on it being about me because I could use money. I wanted to work with this person. I really thought about all the reasons that I wanted to sign this on instead of what was in this person's best interest. Now, this person was able to feel this shift happen also. My body language might have changed. Maybe my tone of voice or eye contact changed. However, an astute individual picked it up and asked me, why do you want to work with me? I was very transparent. I explained all the reasons of how I could help, and I explained that I could use the money, and I think that it would be fun working with you too. The response was, well, let me think about it. I'll get back with you. We scheduled a follow-up conversation, but as soon as that conversation was over, I knew that I had killed my own possibility of this person signing on with me. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how, I knew what was happening. It was like this slow motion fall I could feel happening. I couldn't stop myself because I didn't have that awareness or insight as to how to be able to prevent that from going all the way to the dark side. Mm-hmm. When the conversation was over, I just vowed to myself I would never, ever let that happen again. I was going to solve that. The solution was really coming from this higher place of trusted advisor where I am committed to helping that person make a yes or no decision. However, I am not attached to whether they decide to work with me or not. I'm just attached to helping them make a decision that's in their best interest as opposed to one that's in my best interest. Mm-hmm.
That's very important. I really like that whole concept because it really fits with my thoughts about being a conscious entrepreneur and doing an ethical business. So I think that's great. Mm-hmm.
It was a tough wording lesson. It is something that can be developed in all of us because I believe that there are some people that are joining us right now that probably have had that experience too. They can feel it, they see it, they just don't know how to stop it when it comes time to talking about taking that next step, what you offer, or asking for the money.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Justin, let's talk about Justin. I love Justin.
With Justin, he is an enrolled agent. He does taxes for people. Basically, when we've known each other for a long time, he's been putting out there for maybe a couple years that he wanted to work with me. However, the circumstances were never quite right in his business to be able to take that next step. And they finally happened. We had a consultation. What I saw with Justin is that his business was doing well. He had a lot of the foundational pieces in place. He was great and comfortable doing the sales conversations. However, he was leaving money on the table because of some of the structure with how his business was set up, where everything was a la carte. as opposed to packages. What we did is we worked on his sales process of being able to offer packages instead of just a la carte services. This started to differentiate him from all the other enrolled agents out there. And then he also chose a niche. He decided to niche in the cannabis industry. He's in Oregon. In Oregon, it started to happen maybe about 2 years ago. It was a perfect fit for him. It was a new industry. He loved being a renegade, very rogue. In fact, his business is called Rogue Tax Professional, so he sees himself more like Robin Hood, of wanting to really keep as much for the business owners and the little guys as possible, as opposed to giving it away to Uncle Sam. And what we looked at is carving out his niche, looking at offering packages when he had enrolling conversations, being able to fine-tune those packages. And by doing that, we were able to eventually double and then triple his rates. It made a huge difference for him, where not only did he end up investing in working with me, but later, 8 months later, he had the money to buy the building that his office space was in, which was something that he's been wanting to do for a long, long time. So by offering the packages, pricing them for value as opposed to trading dollars for hours, he was able to change his whole cash flow and buy the building that his business was in, have more time with his family actually, and it just changed everything about how he really showed up to the game. He was playing big as opposed to playing small, like he had been doing for a long time, and it was just a game changer for him.
And we're moving on, and this next topic is, I think, something that we all run across, is like what happens when we're doing a conversation and there's an objection. So this is going to be 5 steps for handling objections, and I think that those are the toughest part of the consult. So what's your strategy, Lauren, for dealing with objections?
Well, I believe what happens for most of us is that as soon as there's a no, or there's some type of objection, it's like we turn into the Wicked Witch of the West. It's one drop of water touches us and we just melt into a puddle on the floor. We lose all of our composure and all of the reason that we're doing what we're doing for our clients. What I want you to do first is become aware of what are those most common objections. It's usually about, I can't afford this. I don't have the time right now. I have to ask my partner. Become aware of maybe your top 5 objections. I just gave you the top 3. There might be 1 or 2 that are specific to your type of business. Then know how you want to respond when those objections come up. That way, you're not going to cave in and just end the conversation. You're going to recognize that they simply didn't see the full value of what you have to offer, or they have some questions that you haven't answered for them yet. And recognize that you can shift your mindset around the objections. It shows that they're interested, but they either haven't seen the full value or they have some unanswered questions. And you want to get curious and find out what that is. Here's how to get curious and deal with those objections. The very first thing is you want to acknowledge their point of view. It's not that you need to agree with it or be able to knock it down. You simply want to acknowledge and validate their point of view. I understand how you can see it that way. That's the first thing. Then you want to get curious by asking another question. You want to ask, and you can do this verbatim. So tell me what you're thinking about. What's coming up for you? Do you have any further questions? Ask another question to get below the surface, which was a no, or I don't have enough time, money, or I need to talk with somebody else, to really start to figure out what's going on in their mind. The third thing you want to do is assess. What that means is you want to ask them, and this is exactly what you want to say. If it had nothing to do with money, or maybe time, or your partner, or whatever, but if it had nothing to do with that thing, let's go with money, would you still be interested in doing this? If they say no, they are doing you a favor, letting them know that they're not interested in your service. At that point, stop the conversation, thank them, bless them, and let them move on. I can see Randy shaking her head. She's like, right on, I've been there, done that. If they tell you, oh yes, I would love to do this, but this is the thing that's keeping me stopped right now, they're like, great. So let's talk about how to be able to make it work. And start to have a deeper conversation about what's keeping them from finding the money or not having the time or their partner somehow. And really help them coming from a place of a trusted advisor, figure that out so that you can turn that no into a yes. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, that offers so much value, because this is probably the hardest part of them doing the work with you, is getting past this one obstacle. And if they can get past this obstacle with you, the rest is easy. After that, you want to have the mindset of assuming the sale. Because when you are being a champion for them, helping them find the way to get past that wall that they're facing right now, that obstacle, then you're going to approach it in a very different way than if you just cave into their story of, you're right, I just heard about their finances, they can't afford my services. Or, you're right, they're so busy, they don't have the time to do this yet. Mm-hmm. When you are caving into their and buying into their story, that means you're being sold on their story instead of them being sold on their possibility. So think about who's being sold to. Are you being sold by their story, or are they going to be engaging with your possibility? and you're going to have a very different attitude if you're coming from taking a higher road for them or really submitting to their challenges that they're bringing out to you. And then the last thing is, once you've gone through all these steps, they are engaged, they're ready to get started. You've talked about the packages, they've chosen one, you've talked about the money, you have all the boundaries in place, and they are good to go. You want to simply acknowledge that they made a great decision, because they've made an investment, they're doing something that they have been avoiding for a while or been tolerating. It's a little bit of a risk and it feels scary for them. Simply put their mind at ease that this is going to be great. You're going to show them exactly how to do it. You're going to get this done, and you know exactly how to mentor them through this process. Mm-hmm. And then give them some homework, give them something to do to get them engaged immediately. Those are the 5 steps for dealing with objections: acknowledge, ask, assess, assume, and affirm.
Wow, that's great. And
Steve, I'm going to quickly jump into how value is subjective, because we've been talking about value for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What you value, what I value, it's different for each and every person. So I have this cup of water. If I'm giving a presentation and at the back of the room, I have bottles of water just like this to sell for $1, you will think about, okay, I'm thirsty, $1, no big deal, I'll go ahead and buy one. Now, if you've been walking around in the hot, dry desert in August for 3 days, you haven't had any water, you feel like you're just on the last edges of surviving. You don't know whether you're about to walk over the next dune and see the city, or if you're going to keep on wandering lost, not knowing what direction to go in. And I magically show up with the same exact bottle of water. It's the same packaging, the same amount of contents inside. The water came from the same source. And I offer this to you. How much would the value of the water, how much would you pay for that water then? Anybody want to put in the chat how much they would pay for it then?
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay, so the value of this water went up 1,000%. And it wasn't that the water itself changed. It was more that the need to survive changed. They want to quench their thirst, and they desire to continue living. Mm-hmm. If you can find out that level of need, want, and desire with your clients, then they're not buying your time any longer. They're buying your expertise and the solution to help them get out of the dry, hot desert and go from barely surviving and holding on to thriving. That is what you offer your clients, and that is the power of a value conversation. Really quickly, I'm going to jump in with Brian. He lives in a very small county of 100,000 people. He does loans for people that are looking to refinance or to buy a home for the first time. He is a nice guy. He says yes to everyone and everything, which means that he is moving in many, many different directions. He's not really in control of his agenda very well. What we did is really helped him focus on what he ought to be saying yes to and where he ought to be saying no or not right now, giving him some boundaries and the words to be able to do that, because he was more discerning about his time and who he actually could work with and help and who might not be a good fit right now. He was actually able to close more sales. He attracted more of those ideal clients that were ready to take the next step. They were in the action phase.
Mm-hmm.
He put them through a process. And like I said, he only lived in a county of 100,000 people. He became one of the top 1% of the loan originators for Guild Mortgage and is currently number 6 in the country for sales. So it had nothing to do with how many people. It was about the value that he brought to the table and being able to guide people through a system as opposed to saying yes to everyone and everything.
Mm-hmm. So what we covered is, so we have talked about a number of different things, which has been really exciting. One of the things that we talked about was how to win new clients without being salesy, the great 3 secrets to get an immediate yes. And then the thing I loved the most was about the 5 steps to handle objections with ease. And I know that Lauren, you have really shared quite a bit, and I know that there's been lots of questions in the chat. What do you recommend for our listeners who are actually seeking more information or on how to close the sale and how they can take the next step with you?
I appreciate you asking that. And if this is something you got value from, you feel that this would really be beneficial to your business, you are at that point of you've been tolerating things long enough, you really want to increase your income, you don't want to work with everybody anymore because you've had some non-ideal clients and they are painful, they're draining as far as energy, time, and resources. Sometimes it costs more to work with a non-ideal client than you're actually making because they want to pay a little and they expect a lot. If you're ready to really get this done, then go to businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk. Steve, can you put that link in the chat?
I will, absolutely.
Once again, it's businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk. You can go there, answer a couple quick questions, and we'll reach out to you to have a value conversation also. So if you're someone who's finished tolerating it, you don't want to work with those non-ideal clients, you want to really be able to increase your income without working harder, you want to be seen for your expertise and that problem that you solve instead of just someone buying your time and renting you, then that's absolutely the right place to have this value conversation with me. So once again, businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk. Answer the questions. We'll go ahead and send you a link to get started and really figure out what's going on in your business. And what we will focus on is what your business would look like if we could solve these things, what some of the current challenges are, what are the opportunities. So if that's something that you feel you're ready for, please go ahead and get started. I know that we're a little bit over time. And Steve, we had some questions. If you wanted to let me know what the questions were, I don't mind sticking around for a little bit and answering some of those.
Okay. Well, one of the questions we had, which was actually way, way, way back in the beginning, I'm trying to think what that was about somebody who was charging $50 for their consult. And the first thing that, I would say is that you're really undercharging. But they wanted to know some ideas about what you felt about that.
I believe that there's 2 different types of consults. There's one where you're doing it for free, and then you're deciding whether that person's a good fit for you or not. Then you're talking about how to get started and working with you. The other way is to go ahead and charge them for that consult, and that is actually a qualifier. It shows you that that person is willing to invest money, they are very motivated, they are in the action stage. Therefore, I don't think that there's right or wrong about which way to do it. It's about doing a way that feels right for you. And if you feel that $50 isn't enough for a consult, then go ahead and start playing with the price and charging more for that. I think it's recognizing, are you doing a consult where you're asking questions to determine and assess what's going on, or are you actually doing a coaching session? If you're doing a coaching session, I'll just tell you stop that.
Okay, I can do that.
And $50 is much too low for a coaching session. It totally actually will affect how many people will take that next step of engaging with you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
if it's purely an assessment, where you're asking those great questions, having a value conversation, $50 is a great start that you're charging for it. Or if you do it for free, that's fine, but don't go into coaching, which is the mistake that so many entrepreneurs make during that first conversation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Lauren, I just want to say, I know that you and I work very closely together, but every time I listen to your webinar, I just gain so much, and I always come out with a gem. So thank you so much for presenting today. It was great.
Absolutely. I so appreciate it. And once again, if you want to talk further, please go ahead and go to the Let's Talk. We will get that moving forward. Thank you so much. Steve, thanks for showing up with me and partnering with me on this, and for really taking the time to be here. I appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you soon.
Take care.